Hi guys, it's Kate, Zencat Vintage, and today we are shopping at the Beacon Community Services thrift shop in Sydney, BC. This is the larger Beacon Community Services location. This is actually right across the road from the smaller Annex store. This store is a mixture of hard goods, collectibles, and clothing and books, whereas the Annex is all hard goods and linens, sort of like housewares. The hard goods section here is relatively small, but it's when you first enter the store, and that's where we found this shelf. First, I was looking at that little studio pottery, sort of lidded ginger jar vessel. It was priced at $10. Then that cool little wooden thing I thought might be a birdhouse, but I think it was actually more so just a decorative piece. Then these were interesting figurines. There was this guy here priced at $20, I believe. And then the one behind him is priced at $9. To me, they looked really sort of Central or South American, maybe like Mexican or Peruvian, something like that. I'm not really familiar with artwork from that area, but it was kind of the vibe. They were really cool looking, but not really my wheelhouse for resale. Wasn't seeing anything too terribly exciting on this shelf for the most part. So then I turned over to the shelf behind it. There was a very cute little vintage Tweety bird plush. She was priced at $6 though. Then this is kind of looked like someone offloaded a good chunk of their Pendleton bunny rabbit collection. Now Pendleton bunnies used to go for pretty good money. There are still some that go quite well and have some definite resale value. Generally the larger pieces or the sort of like houses and things like that. The ones they had here, the figurines were priced at $10, and then the larger pieces were priced around $40 each. So that was a little out of my range for resale purposes, but a collector probably would have been stoked to see some of those pieces there. There were some really nice ones. And there we had a big old chonky chalkware piggy bank. Super heavy piece. This store has a really nice jewelry selection. They, I think, have a jeweler that comes in and prices things like sterling silver and that separately. And this is just sort of a basic little earring section, things that don't necessarily fit in their showcase. So these ones I checked out because they had them marked as vintage. They probably were, but for $5 they weren't something I was super jazzed about. But when I continue browsing, I found these lovely pieces. These are genuine shell carved cameos, and they're actually set in sterling silver, and they were only $4. So that was definitely a win. Now here we moved over to the other side of the hard goods, kind of like decorative pieces. There's not a lot here. It's relatively small. There's pretty sparse shelves, but this was cool. They had it priced at $45. It's actually a vintage troll carry case, but $45, that's kind of what they go for, if not a little less. So couldn't do much with that. This was a cool piece. This is like a solid steel letter opener. First I thought it was a sewing machine on there, but it's actually some kind of a machine. So this was probably like an advertising giveaway from years ago. Then this is a lampe berger, or yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. There was a time when those all used to go for really good money. Not so much anymore, though there are some that still get like crazy top dollar. So they're still worth looking at if you see them. This is a mushroom. It is a Mexican Tonala pottery mushroom. First I thought it was maybe a shaker, but there's no hole, and then it sort of dawned on me that the hole at the top was probably just for during firing to let the heat escape so that it didn't crack or explode. That 100% came home with me, because mushrooms are, as most of us know, crazy popular right now. They had a trio of these sweet little carved rosewood elephant figurines. Those are probably Asian. They had the little glass eyes, little bone tusks. They were very sweet. A couple of them had some chips. I do wish I had maybe picked up one of them, though I did feel like they kind of should have stayed together as a trio, so that's sort of why I left them. This is probably Italian, definitely mid-century. This is a leather wrapped wine bottle, decanter. This style I've never done very well with reselling. The animal ones, however, can definitely bring in some good money. They have them in like owls and cats. I've had the cat one before. Honestly, wish I'd never gotten rid of it. I sold it. I wish I had kept it, but can't keep everything. This was a very sweet studio pottery piggy bank. The little cork nose to pop off and get your change out of. She was so pretty. Really, really sweet. Priced at $6, which was maybe a little on the higher end for where I'd want to be for resale. But she was so sweet, and I was really thinking of grabbing her, but then I felt a chip on her ear. Hopefully someone rescued her. Here, just a few little items. This is just a little... Does everyone remember those from like the 90s? I remember my mom getting me one that looked very much like that back in the 90s. Little glass jewelry box. This was a cool pair of... They were like made in Japan soup mugs, but unfortunately they were both pretty chipped up, and they had them priced at $6 a set. So this was a nice Mexican pottery again. This one's actually marked Mexico on the top. A little trinket or jewelry box. Very pretty pattern. It was in really good shape too. That I was trying to figure out what the material was. It was actually glass. I thought it was like lucite. And then this piece of pottery caught my eye, mostly because the pattern reminded me of like some of the designs I saw in Morocco. Couldn't quite make out where that one was made though. The back stamp was pretty unclear. And that was a reverse carved lucite paperweight. I've been finding a lot of those lately, and I love them, so I did pick that up. This was a beautiful piece of hull pottery until I realized that half of its face was missing. The beak was completely chopped off the front, which was really unfortunate. Priced at $6. They don't resell for a ton, but there could have been some room there had the face not been broken off. And believe it or not, when I went back a few days later, they had actually priced that up to $20, that broken hull vase. So that was a little surprising, a little disappointing too. This is their craft section. I love to browse through the craft section. I look for bits and pieces that I can use for projects, use for doing repairs and things like that. I do repairs on jewelry. I kind of have a weird little collection of cool buttons because I have this idea in my mind that I'm one day gonna make something with them. I think it drives my husband crazy because he's not a fan of buttons. I think there's a little bit of trauma associated with his mom collecting buttons as a kid. But I can't help but look. I also love to look for Bakelite buttons because those actually can have some really great resale. Glass buttons. So I always look because you never know what you're going to find in the little button section. There's always some kind of cool little treasure in here. Those ones were really pretty. They were just plastic. I did double check them over. They weren't the greatest quality. They were pretty worn around the edges. Some new on the card ones from Zellers with some lucite in the center. They do a really good job of organizing here too. They bag everything up. They separate them into color. So makes it kind of fun to browse through. It really does. I didn't find anything super exciting though. I think I did pick up a little baggie of some Moon Glow lucite ones, just in a really pretty orange color. I believe I showed them. This is still in the craft section here. There's some patterns. This was bundles of thread for, I'm not sure honestly, for something, maybe cross stitch. I honestly don't know. And finally, we had a quick peek at the fabric section here where I saw these pretty little squares with the bird designs. They were had some stains on them though, so I did end up leaving those, even though they were only 50 cents and they were super pretty. But didn't feel like washing them, so they did stay. And that was where we wrap up today. So hopefully you stay tuned and enjoy the haul. Thanks.